Hello, YouTubers. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Who's got? Kevin, RFB, Mike, and 23 others. Anyway, hello, guys. Boom. And TikTok is actually ready to go. I'm going to push the button. TikTok, bam, go live. Now I'm probably too red on TikTok, but we'll survive. We'll survive. Hopefully the microphone's loud enough, but TikTok, never a guarantee. Anyway, welcome, TikTokers. Oh, good evening, everybody. Hey, Annie. 7.5 hours of daylight in Riga. Wow. That's always, but I'll bet in the summer, then you get long, like in Paris, the sun sets at like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the summer. I remember working there one summer and I was like, oh my God, I was going to bed at 10:30 at night and it was sunny out. It was the strangest thing. Hey, TikTokers. Hey, Joshua, thank you for the gift. Oh, Annie. Oh, Annie, are you like freaking us out on multiple platforms here? There are two Annies. Thank you for that. Mia, Carol. Oh, you're that far north. Oh, interesting. Okay. Anyway, welcome everybody. Hey, Amanda. So how we doing? You're gray now, Amanda. That's it. Or was that, or were you always gray? Your SNN thing turned gray. I forget. It must change color like over the number of months or whatever. Weird. Oh, I didn't mirror my screen. You're right. That is usually what they complain about. You know, it's funny. I kind of thought there was something I hadn't done, and I was forgetting. I'm like, what am I forgetting here? What am I forgetting? Anyway, welcome everybody. John Aravosis here to talk about the latest news, which we will. Decent chunk of news. A lot of stuff bad as always. It's the Trump administration. There's some particularly bad stuff today. I'm sorry to tell you, but there is. What do you do? Yeah, audio's good, at least for Joshua. That's good. I'm going to guess there's going to be it's not your guys' fault. TikTok, just for some reason, the audio just doesn't work for some people, and it's very annoying. So what do you do? Anyway, welcome, everybody. So I made my the second of several Thanksgiving dishes today. I'm going to friends. Yesterday, I made the cranberry sauce. It turned out very well, which I'm glad. Cranberry sauce is easy, but it doesn't always turn out well, I find. Sometimes it's kind of This turned out really well. Today, I did mom's stuffing or dressing, since it's not going in the turkey. It's a meat dressing that's very good. Burger and ground beef and pork with fruit and nuts. It's very good. But it definitely gets better with age. So I decided to make it today so it can sit in the fridge till Thursday, because that will help ensure that it is a much richer dish. And then tomorrow, I've got to make the chocolate cake, which will be fun. It shouldn't be hard. It's an easy chocolate cake. I may have to get some cream across the street, and I'm going to make those Shea Spence's amazing cornmeal muffins that are ridiculously good. They're so easy. Most of his dishes are easy. So freaking good. It's a simple recipe, so damn good. And as I told you, my nephew, the picky nephew, not Anthony, the other one, the picky nephew tried them and was like, oh my God. He was like, this is really good. So yeah, it's a very good cornbread recipe. You kind of add buttermilk to it and some other stuff. Very good. Anyway, so welcome, guys. How are we doing? We got a decent show. I've got my rice is already ready, but I'm going to let my rice cooker hold it. So we'll go till a little bit after 7, and then I'm going to go have dinner. Is it so hard to pardon turkeys? Why did Trump screw up? Or, well, the turkey thing, the turkey pardon's supposed to be kind of funny, Oh, another fake account. Yeah. Sorry, Nick. We try TikTok, I try to report the fake one. Actually, the fake ones that try to copy me, they're usually good about getting. I have to know about them, but they're usually good about getting. Anyway, so welcome, guys. So let's get rolling. So the way the show works is I talk about the latest news. It sounds kind of boring, but I have a background in news, a background in politics here in Washington, D.C., and my show is about looking at the top stories and hopefully getting a little bit behind the news in terms of what's actually going on, because I've worked in Washington for so long and I've been in the media for so long that I like to think I have some value added. So we're going to talk about that. We sort of go through the news. I have sort of the lineup that I think is important, and then go for your questions. Although sometimes when I'm reading stories, I do try to read the screens. and I'll see your guys' questions and that kind of stuff. So we can jump in with that too. But without any further ado, final pitch for the gifts. Well, it won't be my final pitch, but pitch for the gifts. I do appreciate your guys' gifts. Subscriptions, even better, but gifts are great too. Anything supports my work, which is very generous of you all. So thank you. And subscriptions, you get the added benefit of special emojis and a special little tag by your name. Everybody with SNN TikTok has got thank you, Blue. Has got the SNN next to the name. On YouTube, your name turns colors. So as on TikTok, I think the tag does. And on Discord, same thing. Your name changes colors if you subscribe. So, whew, I'm tired. And Nick and Ash are going crazy. That's funny. You and Ash decided to do it at the same time, which is funny. So with no further ado, I just wish we could have a day that wasn't talking about fascism and descent into totalitarianism, but we are, Blanche, we are. So Trump has now sicked the FBI on the Democratic members of Congress because the FBI is sadly jackbooted thugs now. I mean, it's an old expression that the NRA used to use about the FBI. They used it incorrectly, but now the FBI is no longer a police force in America. It is an arm of a fascist state, really. I mean, I don't know what else to call this. But the FBI is now investigating Democratic members of Congress for expressing their opinion. Now, a couple things going on here. First of all, thank you, Mia. That was Mia. That was Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. Very nice gift. Thank you, Julie. You can't go after members of Congress for pretty much anything. I mean, if they commit crimes, like literal crimes, you can. But things they say, members of Congress have got constitutional protections for things they say. It's called the speech and debate clause. They are allowed, within their role as members of Congress, they are allowed, thank you, Terry, they are allowed to say pretty much anything, and they are exempt from any crimes, you can't sue them, nothing. So it's ridiculous. Trump, like any petty dictator, wants to harass people, wants to scare them. So the FBI is now going after these members of Congress. The Defense Department is going after one of the members of Congress, Mark Kelly, they're investigating him, threatening to call him up for active duty and court-martial him and throw him in prison. Yeah, you can try. Yeah. Tell you what's going to happen if that happened. He thinks these immigration protests are bad. You wait and see what happens if Trump tries to throw Democrats in jail for simply speaking their mind. Yeah. So what happened with this story was Democratic members of Congress correctly, I am a lawyer, went to Georgetown, got my JD from Georgetown, correctly explained publicly to the U.S. military, to our armed service members, that under U.S. law, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, but also other law, they are not permitted to follow illegal orders. If they get an order that's illegal, they have to say no. And if they don't say no, they will be prosecuted. Now, and they'll be held. It's not just, in America, there is no defense under the law of, I was just following orders. Seriously, under U.S. law, If you follow an order that was illegal, you will go to prison, a U.S. service member. Now, when I say an order that's illegal, an example would be ordering you to kill civilians. And what I mean is there are protesters. Actually, Trump skirted with this, by the way. He told his chairman of the Joint Chiefs last time he was president, back in it was 2000. It might have even been the beginning of 2001 now. But there were all the protesters against Trump, and Trump talked to his chairman of the Joint Chiefs and said, "Can't we just shoot them?" He was talking about peaceful protesters outside the White House. Trump didn't like it because they were peaceful protesters. He didn't like it, but they were peaceful. So he said, "Can't we just shoot them?" And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said, "No, Mr. President, that would be illegal." And he said, "Yeah, but can't you just shoot them in the leg?" And he goes, "No, Mr. President, we can't do that." Had Trump ordered his generals to have the troops shoot peaceful protesters in the leg, the generals would have gone to prison had they not said no. Any soldier who followed the order would go to prison if they did not say no. So what happened was the Democrats iterated U.S. law that any child knows. I mean, some of you may not know this, but you don't do this for a living. U.S. troops know the law. Donald Trump probably did not know the law. I will bet you that. Hegseth, Drake, probably did not know the law. I'm going to guess here because he's not the brightest guy, right? He's the pretty boy from Fox News. He got hired because he's pretty. I am suspecting they didn't know. Well, Trump freaked out. When the Democrats now mind you, let's put a finer point on this. A, the Democrats correctly cited U.S. law. Okay, they were right. B, the law they were citing was telling U.S. troops, you're not allowed to break the law. You're not allowed to commit crimes. And you're especially not allowed to commit war crimes. You'll be held responsible. Think about that Trump and Hegseth are especially upset that anybody would tell U.S. troops they're not permitted to commit crimes. Okay? I mean, like most Americans, actually, I would say every American knows you're not allowed to commit crimes. Some people do it anyway, but everybody knows you're not allowed to. So it's not exactly like, oh, the shock of it. You told me I'm not allowed to commit a crime. Oh, right? So Trump and Hegseth freak out. Trump twice calls for the Democratic members of Congress who said this to be killed. Twice called for them to be killed. Okay? And now Trump is using the FBI to go after the Democratic members of Congress and the Pentagon to go after one Mark Kelly, who is a former, I believe, Navy fighter pilot. It's pretty sick. This is exactly Beaver. Beaver is asking, is this why soldiers were arrested after Vietnam? Correct. I do not have all the details, but I do know that some soldiers were held responsible for what happened in Vietnam. They were just following orders. It's illegal in America for a soldier to just follow orders. Again, we have the fascist state problem. I mean, this is serious, guys. And I think every Republican who claimed they were upset because, the Biden FBI was investigating Trump for stealing classified information and trying to violently overthrow the government. And they got upset. They claimed to have gotten upset about that, even though there were clear crimes there. I mean, clear crimes. And frankly, Biden had nothing to do with it. Had Biden had something to do with it, we would have gone after Trump on day one because he deserved it. Biden said, I'm not handling it. It's up to the FBI. Thank you, Claire. And that's why they didn't go after Trump for years. Okay. But nonetheless, Trump committed crimes. In this case, Trump has made clear that he plans on using the government to go after every single political enemy, especially if they have not committed any crimes. Trump already said this. Trump ordered his Justice Department to file criminal charges and get indictments against people who the Justice Department themselves said, we can't prosecute these crimes because there's no evidence of a crime. There's insufficient evidence. Comey, Letitia James. Who was the third one that they went after? Wasn't there a third one they went after that they also, I believe, didn't have enough evidence? I thought there was a third one. So they just got rid of the prosecutor who said, the U.S. attorney who said there's no evidence. They haven't gone after Schiff yet. General Kelly, that's one. General Kelly was one of them. Yeah. Well, Bolton is the only one where actually Bolton is the only one where it may be a legitimate prosecution, actually, to be fair. It was under the Biden administration that the prosecution was called off and then started again under Biden because they looked at it and said, you know what? It looks like he literally stole some classified information. Now, I will say this, if we're going after people for stealing classified information, Donald Trump would be in prison today. Because Trump didn't just accidentally have it. Trump took it, he hid it, and then he obstructed justice and refused to return it. Remember? He did all sorts. It was terrible. The guy was, you get it. Biden, by the way, thank you, Claire. When Biden found classified information in his house, Biden called the FBI, said, I found classified information, come and get it. And please come and feel free to search any of my homes and all of my homes to make sure there's nothing else there. And he did. Opened the doors. They came. Whatever they found, they took. Trump, don't you dare enter my house. Yeah, I've got classified information. And by the way, this is Trump, private citizen, who's not allowed to keep classified information and not allowed to see it, by the way, not this stuff. Trump says, not returning it. I'm keeping it. It's mine. It's not yours. And I'm going to hide it from you, which is a crime as well. This is again, very bad, very scary stuff, guys. They're using the FBI now to threaten members of Congress They're using the Defense Department to threaten members of Congress. By the way, we talked about this yesterday. I thought Trump and the Republicans were trying to, fix the Defense Department because it was too biggie. It was too biggie. It was too focused on things that had nothing to do with defending America from our enemies abroad. Now, what do we use our soldiers for? Picking up garbage, literally. In Washington, D.C., Trump has National Guard troops picking up garbage. Possibly worse than that, but not really worse, I suspect, equal. Trump had our National Guard troops laying down mulch for plants, putting down, the little wood chips around plants to make them pretty. National Guards, right? Part of the U.S. military, right? Our armed forces. That's pretty embarrassing, right? Then what did Trump do? Then Trump, rather than using our troops, Marines included, using them to defend America from enemies abroad, Trump sent the Marines to Los Angeles. And he wanted to send the National Guard to Oregon and the National Guard to Illinois. And then he's sending them to North Carolina, just ended. He's using our military, taking them away from defending the country abroad and using them to go after our own citizens, right? And now what's he doing? Now he's using the military to threaten members of Congress and investigate them and all of that. When those people investigating the members of Congress should be focusing on their job, which is defending America from foreign threats. Thank you, Tiger Pug. But they don't do that anymore. That's not their job anymore. Just like the FBI's job is no longer to go after criminals. The FBI's job is pretty much the same thing it is in Russia. It's to do what the fascist state wants them to do. It's not about justice. It's certainly not about justice anymore. These people running that agency and the people they've got running around investigating these guys, they're fascists. And there's nothing else to call them, Anyway, all right. The Hegseth. So this is good. So Hegseth, Drake, he's been quite interesting. Our defense secretary, he's the pretty boy, got hired because he's pretty on Fox News. He has been nonstop talking about this story, nonstop livid about this story. He seems to think that constantly talking about the fact that it's illegal for our troops to commit crimes will somehow, I don't know what he thinks. He somehow thinks this helps the Trump administration to keep talking about this. And I'm like, okay, you want to keep reminding the troops, because every day, Hegseth, all day long, every day you talk about how it's a crime for our troops to follow an illegal order is reminding our troops that it's a crime for them to follow illegal orders. Hegseth is making sure it's the Streisand effect, it's called, from Barbara Streisand once. Some tabloid got pictures of her home with a wedding or something, and she went nuts trying to stop it. And by trying to stop it, she caused a huge story, and everybody saw the pictures of where she lived. And that's what he's doing. He's making sure that everybody in the military is going to hear this story, and they're going to hear that it's illegal and they could go to prison if they follow illegal orders and they don't say no to illegal orders. And they're going to ask questions. And every single one of them is going to go, is that true? And if they talk to somebody who knows the law, they're going to go, yeah. Thank you, Julie. They're going to say, yeah, it's literally illegal for you to say, yes, sir, to an illegal order. The Pentagon also tried something unbelievable. They lied to the troops. And again, guys, if like military people out there, if they lie to you and you break the law, you go to prison. You will have no defense that will Hegseth lied. The Pentagon put out a statement and said, well, when we issue orders, like they're presumed legal. I don't know what the hell that means. I just think it's sort of like saying, well, when you rob a liquor store, I don't worry. When you rob a liquor store, it will just be presumed to be not breaking the law. And feel free to tell the cops that. And feel free to tell the judge that. Thank you. Oh, Jade. Sorry, we have a ridiculously cool gift. Heroic Teddy. Gee, that was very generous of you. Thank you. And I've never seen that one before. That's very, very Christmassy as well with a gift. Thank you for that. Wow. Thank you so much. That was really cool. But yeah. So they're trying to trick the troops by saying, well, when we give an order, it's presumed to be, by the way, I don't even know what the hell that means. Presumed. Well, I guess, yeah. Like, I like to believe in my country and my military. So I like to think when a leader gives an order that we should presume it's legal because hopefully he's not a criminal, a war criminal, our leader. But that doesn't really change the law. What the law says is whether you presume or not that the order you were just given was legal, if it's an illegal order, you're going to prison if you follow it. That's what the law says. I am a lawyer. That is what the law says. It is irrelevant if you presumed it was legal because the big guys told you our orders are all legal. Oh, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Yeah. No, the law breaking here, it's sad because it's people who don't care about America. They don't care about democracy. They don't care about the rule of law. They don't care about our troops. I can't think of anybody who would want to put our troops in danger. Why would you want to put our troops in danger? Right? Why would you want American soldiers to commit crimes and go to prison? What kind of a leader, what kind of a military leadership would want to lie to the troops to get them so they get thrown in jail? Those are not people who love America. They're not people who love the troops. So, you know? Yeah. They won't, Simon. They won't. I don't think so. That's not the way, usually it's not the way crimes work. Simon said judges will go by what a normal person should have concluded. Not when you're talking criminal law. Criminal law is not, well, would a regular person have known he was breaking into a bank? No. There's just not, right? It's first of all, I mean, it's not a defense. It's not a defense. It was really hard for me to figure it out because I'm not very bright. No, a crime is a crime is a crime. Yeah, criminal law is criminal law. It's by the book, you know? And hopefully the troops are taught the law. Now, they're not lawyers, though. I look, the first thing I'll say, which I think he was getting at a little bit, this is not easy to figure out. I mean, certain things are. If they tell you to fire on civilians, okay, maybe you ought to think twice. And certainly what Trump is having them do in the cities around the country is putting them in real danger, the troops, legal danger, because they don't, this isn't what they're not educated to do police duty, trained to do police duty, right? These guys don't know what they're doing. So real legal peril for them in that situation. Anyway, all right. This is a happy story. I have a happy story for you next about Republican House members getting very upset and kind of falling apart. So this is from Punchbowl News. Republican members of the House of Representatives are very unhappy because Trump is treating them as his puppets. And the long story, I'm going to read you this, but the long story short, oh, thank you, baby duck. Appreciate that. Oh, that's such the Friends turkey. I've got to pick that as one of the gifts. It looks like maybe Democrats could take back the House before the election because so many Republicans quit, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let me read you this. Punchbowl News, very good, legitimate, some top journalists. Thank you, Amy. Some top journalists work there. This entire White House team has treated all members of the House like garbage. All. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has let it happen because he wanted it to happen. That is the sentiment of nearly all. This is Republicans in Congress. Appropriators, authorizers, hawks, doves, rank and file. The arrogance of this White House team is off-putting to members who are run roughshod and threatened. They don't even allow little wins like announcing small grants or even responding from agencies. Okay, this is fascinating. I have to tell you this. So this whole article is about just how badly Trump treats the Congress. Well, yeah, but I will say this too. Y'all let him run over you, so there's a surprise, right? Trump just, right? The Republicans just don't stand up to the guy. This is incredibly dicky what Trump is doing. What they just said was, I used to work in the U.S. Senate for a U.S. senator. And one of the things, and it always bugged me a little because it was kind of fake, but one of the big things members of Congress do is, especially when it's their party in the White House. So if it's your part, if you're a Republican and you've got Republicans in the White House, like with Trump, agencies announce grants. There's highway safety grants. There's, I don't know, environmental grants. There's education grants. I don't know. It could be a grant to work on a highway in your state. It could be a grant to, I don't know. I did a lot of transportation stuff, right? So to expand your airport, whatever. If you get a grant from the federal agency, it's usually in legislation to start with, so you know it's coming. Once the agency actually provides the money, the agency typically calls the member of Congress and says, hey, we're about to release the $100,000 for the airport in your district. We'll send you the information. You can put out or we'll send you our draft press release or whatever, and you can write up your press release and send it first. Thank you, Chazak. And that way, literally, the member of Congress goes, I am proud to announce that we just got $100,000 for Alaska. And everybody goes, yay. And it goes in the local papers, and the congressman gets credit, even if the congressman had nothing to do with it, right? It's a way of the administration helping the congressmen of their party. This article says Trump is refusing to do that. They're not even letting members of their own party take credit for the money going out. Now, my guess is if they're doing it to everybody, which they are apparently, my guess is it's because Trump wants to take credit, right? Couldn't you see Trump? I mean, could you see Trump going, what do you mean? I'm gonna let Congressman so-and-so put out a press release for my money? I'm putting out a press release. So they're not letting local members of Congress get any of the glory. It's like I said, like this is Congress 101, what you do, that you let them take credit. The other thing is the agencies aren't responding to members of Congress. So the congressmen are contacting the agencies and they're not calling them back, which is unheard of. You just don't do that. But the thing is that the reason it's unheard of is because members of Congress can hurt you. If you're a government agency and you don't respond, they can cut your budget. Well, if you're a bunch of pushovers and you don't stand up to Donald Trump and the agency knows you're not going to stand up to Donald Trump, then what incentive does the agency have to be scared of you, right? They have no incentive because they know you're not going to do anything to me because you're Trump's puppet, right? Trump will get pissed off if you cut my funding. What amazes me, though, is there's two reasons agencies get back to you. One, they're afraid of you. Two, they're doing their job. They're a government agency and you're a member of Congress. Like, why wouldn't you respond to a member of Congress who contacts your agency with a problem? What else are you doing all day long? I mean, that's just like normal governing in America. That's what I'm saying. Like, this story is so effed up on so many levels. Well, let me keep reading this, okay? The arrogance in the White House is putting members of Congress off. They're running roughshod over them, threatening them. They don't even allow little wins like announcing small grants or even responding from agencies. Not even the high profile, the regular rank and file random members. Oh, not even the high profile. The regular rank and file random members are more upset than ever. Members know they are going into the minority after the midterms, meaning Republicans are convinced in the House of Representatives that they are losing control of the House and Democrats are taking it back next year in the elections. Let's not count on this, but the Republicans are convinced of it, which is good because it makes them sad and despondent. They're afraid. They don't give money, right? It just, you want them to be despondent and not fighting back. Members know they're going into the minority after the midterms. Quote, more explosive early resignations are coming. Marjorie Taylor Greene, et cetera, meaning more Republicans are going to leave before the election. It's a tinderbox. Morale has never been lower. Mike Johnson will be stripped of his gavel and they will lose the majority before this term is out. What they're talking about is enough Republican members of Congress will quit between now and the election that Republicans will lose control of the Congress. They'll lose their majority. Now, I don't know that that's true. Republicans are worried that that's true. Again, this is great. Whether it happens, I don't know. Democrats should fight like hell to make sure it happens. But the fact that Republicans are this upset and this desperate and this despondent and this woe is me, like I said, somebody who thinks we're going to lose anyway doesn't want to spend money on an election. Somebody who thinks we're going to lose anyway doesn't want to spend money donating to other elections. Somebody who thinks we're going to lose anyway doesn't want to run for re-election. That's the other thing. That's what they're saying. A lot of these guys, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, part of what happened with her, I suspect, thinking about it, is she wasn't going to win re-election because now Trump turned on her. And in a primary, right, in the primary, they probably would have made her lose. So she probably thought, well, why the hell do I want to spend the next year going through a primary beating me up and I'm going to lose anyway? Why don't I wait till I get my pension January 5th, take the pension and go home? So I don't blame her, but that's probably part of the reason. Anyway, very interesting stuff on that front. Now some bad news. We had the one little bit of good news. I don't think we have any other we don't have any other good news tonight, just for the record. Trump and RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's the crazy guy over at the our top health official in America who doesn't really believe in health. Well, he secretly appointed a new number 2 at the Centers for Disease Control. Centers for Disease Control is our top disease fighting agency. Okay. I need some worms whenever we talk about Kennedy. And now that Robert mentioning worms, I need to get some toy worms. And of course, if there's a worm that makes noise, somebody keep in mind, if there's a nurse that makes noise, a worm that makes noise, this could be fun. So Kennedy secretly appoints, he did it secretly. Nobody, like people at the agency said they had no idea. He secretly appointed a number 2 at the agency, the number 2 guy who doesn't believe in vaccines. I mean, I laugh. It's not funny. And he didn't tell anybody. So the New York Times starts calling people at the agency they know, and they're like, what? He hired that guy? They go, yeah, he started 2 days ago. He goes, what? Didn't tell anybody. I want to read you this from the New York Times. Okay. Dr. Ralph Abraham spent decades as a physician and a veterinarian. Always good. Always good. I love my veterinarians and I love my dogs, but it's always good news when they appoint a veterinarian to be the second most important healthcare official in fighting infectious diseases, the vet. Right? Like, I mean, okay. I love vets, but is there something wrong there? There's something a little weird there, but okay. Physician and veterinarian before winning a congressional seat representing Louisiana in 2014. So he was a Republican member of Congress from Louisiana. That ought to tell you something. He retired from Congress in 2020. I'm reading the New York Times now. He retired from Congress in 2020. All right, we're reading the New York Times. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Abraham backed the drug hydroxychloroquine, a medication normally used to treat or prevent malaria, and supported making ivermectin, a drug for parasitic infections in animals and humans, available over the counter. Both drugs have been shown to be ineffective against COVID. That's the New York Times. That's the guy they picked. That's the guy who now is the secretly been picked. And they started him 2 days ago and told nobody, you can see why, to be the number 2 infectious disease official in America. Now, you would think that I read in the article, among the other things he did, he was appointed the top health official in Louisiana. He stopped all vaccinations. He just stopped all vaccinations. He was like, nope, we're not doing any more vaccinations. Like, it was like, okay. It's like, okay, whatever. He also was opposed to the COVID vaccine, said it didn't work or something to that effect. It was dangerous or it didn't work. I think he said it was dangerous. The COVID vaccine. You know who gets credit for the COVID vaccine? His new boss, Donald Trump. This is where, again, Democrats need to do a better job. If this guy was hugely anti-COVID vaccine, they need to keep asking at the president's briefing, or not the president, but Caroline Leavitt's briefing, and ask her about this and say, do you think, does the president mind that he just hired a guy at the CDC who thinks his vaccine's a joke, who thinks his vaccine is dangerous? And basically who thinks that what the president did was dangerous because the president created the vaccine, we're told. The president wanted the country to take the vaccine, we're told. And this guy at CDC says it's dangerous. Does the president have a feeling about that? I don't know. State Department. So another bad story. The Trump administration is ordering the State Department to label countries with abortion access, transgender protections, DEI policies, and hate speech safeguards as human rights violations. The State Department does an annual book of human rights violations around the world. Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, when we're being honest, right? Turkey, right? These kind of things. Well, Russia, certainly. Trump is now turning it on its head, and Forbes is reporting that they're going to actually talk about human rights violations such as supporting transgender rights is going to be a human rights violation. I mean, that you, again, Orwellian fascist dictator. That's the only way to look at this, right? Civil rights are now human rights violations, right? Abortion access, human rights violation. Hate speech. Oh, they love to go after Europe on this. Europe has hate speech policy. Actually, Canada does too. Europe has hate speech policies. In America, there's no such thing as hate speech because of our First Amendment in our Constitution. Quite literally, we've talked about this a lot before. There are very few things you can't say, but you can get into trouble. For example, if you slander or defame somebody, you will get into trouble, of course. But you can't. We don't have the same kind of, and I still don't really understand how it works in Europe. But Callum and I, and before with you guys, we've talked about examples that you can say in America that you can't say in Europe, or you can't say in the UK, for example. You know, like you can go. I can't give examples on TikTok because they get me in trouble. But you could go on a street corner in America or at a protest or whatever and talk about how you hate a group of American citizens, a certain race, a certain ethnicity, and you can say you hate them, and you can say whatever you want. I mean, you can go through the list of things you say about them. What you can't do is you can't incite violence. You can't incite violence. So that you can't do. But you can hate them all you want. You can even talk about that man that ran Germany in World War II and how much you love him. No problem. I mean, any of that stuff that you can talk about the people he hated. You can talk about what he did and say you think it was a good idea. In America, that's legal. That is totally legal to say that. Now, again, I don't quite understand in Europe because I know, like I said, it's different. It's different sort of the laws, because I have talked to my European friends who said, oh yeah, like at protests, holding the wrong sign will get you in trouble. In America, the wrong sign has to be something literally say, let's turn violent, is what the sign would have to say to get you in trouble in America. So he's going after Europe for hate speech and calling it, calling it like not a hate crime, calling it a human rights violation. Well, there's a reason why in Europe, I would argue, there's a historical reason why that countries have laws outlawing extreme hate against minorities and groups of people, because many million people died as a result of that kind of hate on their soil. Didn't happen in America, it happened over there. And therefore, I don't know that that's the only reason the laws are in place, but I think it's incredibly naive for an American like J.D. Vance, who went over and did it, to say, you have no concept of freedom. Why are you banning the NZs, who are, by the way, a legal party here in America? Why are you banning them? Why don't you let them march? They're able to march in America, by the way. Why don't you let them march? Well, because they did very bad things that maybe you should appreciate. You know, that shouldn't be allowed to happen again. Thank you, Kim. In any case, it's the other funny thing is Trump and Vance claiming that they're going to now defend freedom of speech in Europe when they don't defend freedom of speech at home. They're trying to throw members of Congress in prison for literally publicly citing a U.S. law under the UCMJ and another code as well. They want to throw them in prison for literally reciting a public law. Thank you, Christina. I do love that kid. I think it's the coolest. It's a little bit devil, but it's kind of fuzzy devil, like devil mixed with a fox. Exactly. It's like foxy devil or devilly fox. Anyway. Now, Gunther, why have you become like Austrian? What's that about? That is our Gunther, I'm assuming. Gunther. Just kind of curious. I saw that the other day too. I was like, all right, a little more here. Oh, HP, Hewlett Packard is planning to cut up to 10% of its workforce as it invests further in artificial intelligence over the next few years. That's very scary. Not unexpected, but very scary. Thank you for the sorting hat there. I call it the sorting hat. The hat of joy. Russ, the hat of joy. The hat of joy. It's so like the dance of joy. Numfar. Somebody will get that. I know. We got a big enough audience. Somebody will get that. Numfar, do the dance of, what's it? What was the dance of? No, I am forgetting the dance though. What was the dance? Thank you, Claire. The dance of something. You guys know. Come on. Somebody knows Numfar's dance. Anyway, I love it. I always pull that video up once in a while just to watch it. It makes me happy. Oh, you can no longer do emojis. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Dance of Joy. Is it the Dance of Joy? I wasn't sure, Amanda. That's why I saw Dance of Joy and I was thinking, okay, the Hat of Joy. It was the Dance of Joy. Okay, there you go. That's what that explains why Hat of Joy made me think of the Dance of Joy. Okay. All right. Our Buffy and Angel references. Wall Street Journal. So let's talk a little bit about Ukraine and the peace plan. So as you know, Trump, well, I was going to say Trump came up with a peace plan. No, Trump offered a Russian peace plan to Ukraine. That would have been a disaster. Ukraine was like, I don't think so. The Republican members of Congress flipped out and Trump backed down, which is good. He is now that Ukrainians are involved, Ukrainians are saying positive things, which is good. There was nothing else to say about the job loss. They're getting rid of HP's getting rid of 10% of their workforce because of AI. That was just a quick report. The peace plan. So listen to this, Wall Street Journal. Ukraine told the Trump administration it would sign a U.S. drafted peace deal to end the war with Russia. U.S. officials. This is, by the way, they're doing, I think, what I told you they should do. Do what Russia does. Agree. Russia always agrees. Russia always goes, oh, great idea. We just have to negotiate the little details, but great idea. I'm on board. And then they never agree to the little details, and the little details are always deal killers. Ukraine just said, we are going to sign on. I think let's see, but that's to make Trump happy and now shift everything over to the Russians. Well, the Ukrainians said yes, because Trump doesn't do details, right? So Ukraine says they're going to sign a U.S. drafted peace deal, despite Washington and Kyiv signaling remaining diplomatic hurdles. See, I told you, remaining diplomatic hurdles, and Moscow weighing how to respond. Ukraine's national security advisor said Tuesday that Zelensky hoped to meet directly with Trump to negotiate some final points in the coming days. The officials said they left crucial issues such as what territorial concessions Ukraine has to consider and whether it can eventually join NATO. So those two big issues are not included. A different story or different part of the story, a peace plan discussed and approved by Ukrainian and U.S. officials would limit Ukraine's peacetime military to 800,000 service members. Oh, this is Financial Times. So remember we talked about this the other day. The Russian peace plan that Trump initially embraced said Ukraine could only have 600,000 men in its military. Now I think they've got about they've got 900,000 right now. So they could only have 600,000. Well, I said, why don't you counter with a much higher number and still make it sound like you're cutting it? The Ukrainians countered and got Trump to agree to 800,000 and peacetime limit. Now, their current wartime strength is 900,000 members. So they would have to cut back to 800,000 if there's peace. Well, if there's peace, they don't need 900,000, right? But it also is a peacetime limit. If there's no more peace, they can go up again. So that's not much of a concession. So that was good. French, British, Turkish troops could be deployed in Ukraine right after the peace deal, Macron said. That's interesting. President Macron of France said they would be deployed to rear locations such as Kyiv or Odessa to provide security and training. That's interesting because one of the points the Russians put in Trump's first peace deal was, well, first meaning the earlier one, was that no NATO troops could be on Ukrainian soil. Well, it looks like that's going out the window now. That's good. And finally, the Wall Street Journal did a much bigger story on this that basically it was Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who's just witless, this guy, and Jared Kushner, who basically used one of their Russian buddies to give them the plan. and they relied on him, and that's why the plan was so bad. So, all right, that's what I got. Let's see what happens. I mean, that's a lot of stuff that's not settled, right? I'm like adjusting my camera so I can relax a little here while we hang out. If you haven't settled what land is going to be returned back and forth or turned over or whatever, like what land is Ukraine going to give to Russia, what land is Russia going to give to Ukraine, and you haven't even settled that yet, that's a big deal. If you haven't determined Ukraine joining NATO eventually, or at least banning them from joining NATO, that's a big deal. If you haven't figured out if NATO troops can be on Ukrainian soil, that's a huge deal, because the only way you're going to stop the Russians from invading again is having NATO troops on Ukrainian soil. The only way it's going to do it. So I think successfully, Ukraine is changing the narrative a little, which is good. They're getting it to sound like, I'm like burping as I talk to you. Sorry, that's bad. They're getting it to sound like, oh, Ukraine's on board now. Oh, what's up with the World Cup? What are they doing now, Maggie? I know they've been like threatening California or something. Not the World Cup, Trump. Is he doing something else now? Yeah, that was the other day though, Elliot. Yeah. Or Deloitte, depending what your name is. I mentioned it briefly the other day because that story is from several days ago now, though. Yeah. Well, Trump, there was another story that said that apparently Trump wasn't really involved in any of this. Trump just said, go reach a deal. And he wasn't aware of the deal, and he didn't care. So he put out his 28-point peace plan that he'd never even got briefed on, apparently. So, there's our boy. Exactly. Russian auto pen. Sorry. I did have a shitty. I was half the night I slept well, and then I woke up and had one of those things where you start thinking. Literally half the night was me thinking, and I slept so well the first half. I was like, oh God, why? I'm surprised that, I did have some iced tea before the show because otherwise I'm going to yawn. I've been pretty good about not yawning tonight so far. So, and I noticed my hair is like so spiky. I'm laughing because my hair always has gone back and forth although now it's definitely doing like Jamie Lee Curtis hair. But it spikes. It's always done this though. I get it cut and it occasionally goes and it just went and it cracks me up. Anyway, I think it looks nice. Thank you. I think it looks okay, but it just cracks me up when it has a mind of its own. So it's very funny. Your mom. Okay. Hope she's doing okay. That sucks. Yasu Dario. Anyway, but yeah, so I've got my interview 3 weeks with the Greek embassy, and I must speak Greek for a little bit when I'm there. Όχι τόσο, αλλά αρκετά για να δείξω? Όχι δείξω. What do you see? To show. Όχι show. What's to show? To show is, in Greek? Dario, I forgot if you speak Greek. What would be to show? To show, it's not dino, is it dikno? Is it dikno? I forget. I'm trying to say that I can show that I can speak Greek, and of course then I'm screwing it up. Is it dikno? Well, dikno is give. Dikno is give. Dixis. Yana dixis, yeah. But dixis, but what's the word? Oh, is it dixo? It's dixo and not dikno, right? Because dikno is to give, I believe. Right? So is dixo or dikho? What's the present tense? Sorry, guys, we're getting into a whole Greek thing here. I promise we won't do it. Just tell me what's the present tense for I give in Greek. Not I give. I show. No, but dikno is give. What's I show? Do you say the same thing for show? Like I am showing. I show that I speak Greek. Dikno pou milao Ellinika? Or is it? All right. I promise we'll stop the Greek lesson after this. But these are the things I have to worry about for the next 3 weeks. And in the middle of my night, I started thinking about it. I give. What is show? Like I want to show. Show is dikno. It is dikno. I was right then. I was thinking dikno, but I was thinking dikno is give. See, this is like, I've got like little bits of Greek embedded in the back of my head from 40 years ago. Vino. Thank you. Vino. Okay. Thank you. That's why I was gonna say it's not vigno. Yeah. Vino is give. I'm sorry. No. Vino is give, but vigno is show. Okay. Vino. Ne. Okay. So θέλω να δείξω ότι μιλάω ελληνικά. Αρκετά καλά. So there we go. Vino. Kind of like vino ash, but a little different. Vino. Like Dino. Dino the dinosaur would be I give in Greek. Anyway, but I literally started thinking about this in the middle of the night. So all of a sudden I started having dreams that I was at the embassy having to speak Greek. And I was like, oh my God. So I got a shitty night's sleep. Anyway. But and I'm dealing with lots of little documents because I've got to get translations now. So I'm dealing with the translators. I got to do a couple affidavits, and the affidavits might be done, but I've got it again, like I'm getting documents translated. There's just a lot of, and even the documents I got translated are I didn't realize, I mean, I guess I realize now you've got to, there's a lot of rules involved in getting a document translated for a foreign country. Your birth certificate. What's your name? My name's John. Is my name Yanni? It's Zon in Greek officially. My middle name George. It's George. Right? It's not Yorgo, which is George in Greek. It's George because my name isn't Yorgo. My name is George, right? But my last name's Aravosis. It's still Aravosis. Dad's even more interesting. Dad, but it's not. Officially, my name is not Ioannis. My name is going to be Zon. For if I'm able to pull this off. So they have to translate my birth certificate as Zon for John, right? Dad's even more interesting. Dad is George Demetrius Aravosis. They're going to translate his name as George, right, for George. But his middle name, Demetrius, is a name in Greek. So it's going to be George Dimitrios. It'll be Greek. And the last name, Aravosis. So he's going to have a real Greek middle name and a fake Greek first name. So these are things that are making my head hurt that I've got to talk to the translator about, because if you screw it up, right, it's complicated and it's giving me a headache. So yes, I have been, as I said, I've been working on affidavits the last several days. They have not been fun. I mean, it's been fun intellectually because I like doing hard intellectual stuff. It's fun, but it's also very like, you know, how do you prove that the woman on my birth certificate is the same woman as the woman who, you know, passed away last year? Right. I mean, it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question, actually, if you think about it, right? Like the woman on your birth certificate has a different name than your mom now. How do you prove they're the same person? Okay. The dad's the same, but we live in a big country. Death certificate. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm using her death certificate, but it's a lot of piecing things together. Marriage license, except marriage license has maiden name, doesn't have married name. So my point is like, what I've realized is for a lot of the work we do in this country, we sort of trust the documents we get, right? I mean, my mom's maiden name is not common, but it's not uncommon. I'm not going to go through the details here, but it's not uncommon. Like, there could be other people with her name. Dad's name, much less common. Our family is our name. No one has our last name. It's only our family. So that's unique. Actually, for most of you, your last name's Campbell. Your mom's Mary Campbell. And your birth certificate says Mary Campbell is the maiden name of your mother. Okay. She's from Chicago. Okay. Right? She was born 1960, 1961. Okay, I'm going to guess Chicago probably still has a lot of Mary Campbells born in the 1960, 1961. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like it gets complicated. Then again, married to your father, but it's interesting how the documents the document on itself doesn't tell you that which Mary Campbell is your mother. That's what I mean. That could be any Mary Campbell. And death certificates similar, although depending on who the parents are. Anyway, I'm becoming kind of an expert on this, sadly. You know, Gunther says everyone in an Icelandic nuclear family has different surnames. Do they really? Everyone in the family? Everyone? How does it work though? How do you have two surnames, two family names? Wait, different. How do you have different family names in the family? I would think like the boys and the girls could be like, you know, Sven's daughter and Sven's son, right? Or Eric's daughter, Eric's son, but that would be boys and girls. how does every kid get a different name? Is it like based on the rank of the kids? You know? Oh, you're saying if they're the same gender. So it's like the Eric's daughter and Eric's son, which I never knew until I was watching my Viking TV shows a couple of years ago. I was like, Eric's daughter. I said, oh my God, that's hilarious. I mean, Eric's son, of course, it comes from that, but I never thought the girls were named Eric's daughter. And actually, I saw somebody over the last couple of years, maybe somebody during one of our shows had a name like that. And I was like, oh my God, that's wild. Yeah. Very interesting. Just because I never, I think also like I don't think of daughter as being a Scandinavian word, but maybe it is. I would have thought of daughter as being German or something, but did we have a viewer with the last name last night? We remember, because I remember it was somebody, I want to say it was Eric's daughter. It probably was. I remember seeing Dotter and thinking, oh my God, that's so cool. I probably commented on it, I'm sure, because I always think it's so interesting, based on my Viking TV shows, my Viking TV show knowledge. Tochter, is that German, Mike? Oh, interesting. So it's not. So it is Scandinavian then, the root of the words. Because son, I mean, why not? But anyway, no, I'm sure I did. Yeah, I think it's cool. Daughter in Sweden. Okay, yeah, Jens says so. Yeah, so daughter and son. I mean, well, I know you guys use son, but it doesn't mean it originally came from you guys, right? But it's funny. I think it's also when we use words like that in English, you just kind of think they're English. You think of foreign words as being more Latin-y or Greek or something, right? Or I would think like analogy. Like that word to me sounds like French, like or in French, it's probably some other word like analogue, or I don't even know what. But analgesic. It just sounds. I hear French when I could think maybe even Latin. Like I hear, whereas son and daughter, I'm like, but I don't know Germanic languages or Scandinavian. So it's probably why I don't hear that kind of a thing when I hear those languages. Wary German? What does that mean? Airwaves? They are German influenced, or they're not? The Scandinavian languages. Yeah, smorgasbord, exactly. Exactly. We don't really use that word anymore, though. We grew up using the word, but I haven't heard it in decades. I'm assuming very. Right? Do people use smorgasbord anymore? Is it a Midwestern thing? Maybe in Minnesota. They'd proudly use smorgasbord, but we used to, but we don't anymore. Kind of meaning a banquet table of lots of different food. Like a buffet. I guess is a buffet a smorgasbord? I think. Right? I mean, I was going to say, yeah, but Sherry says buffet. That's what I mean. It's a buffet. Well, it's a buffet, but it's not just a buffet. A smorgasbord is like literally a church social with 20 different entrees would be what I think of as a smorgasbord. It's not mom decided to set up the food on a buffet and everybody go serve themselves. It's a potluck. Exactly. A potluck. A potluck. A potluck's a smorgasbord. Yeah. I sometimes think of the smorgasbord as the layout of the food almost. But yeah, I guess it would be a potluck. Like everybody brings something. So you get a lot of different. I'm assuming it's Midwest because Norwegians in Minnesota, and I'm Chicago. A smorgasbord is Swedish? It's a Swedish type buffet. Okay. But is it a buffet? Is it a buffet where you have lots of different entrees, for example? Not just like one entree? Cornucopia? Never use the word though. Potlatch. Yeah, potlatch I know from Alaska. Yeah, I think, again, it typically means many, many choices. Exactly. Right. That's funny, but we don't use it anymore. A smorgasbord. It'd be so funny if somebody said, oh yeah, they're having kind of a smorgasbord. You'd be like, okay, that was cute. It's just, it's a word from the 70s really for us. We used it back then. It is funny when words like aren't used anymore. But yes, smorgasbord. Aurora had an awesome one. Oh, that's funny. Yes, I was closer to the city, but we use the word too. Yeah. But do you still use it in Wisconsin? Is my question. Flaming. That's sort of my question, right? Because we're Illinois, Chicago area, we used it, but now we wouldn't. I'd have to ask my sister, but I mean, I don't live there anymore. But my sister, because I haven't heard the word in forever. She might. She might say, yeah, friends, if they're doing a big dinner party with a big buffet and it's, we're doing this, actually you could say we're doing a smorgasbord. So you could say we're doing like a potluck smorgasbord. Maybe everyone brings stuff and we're spreading it all out. I know we should bring the word back. It'll be fair. And they'll be like on a TikTok show on November 25th, 2025, the word made a resurgence, German buffet. I think it was 70s. That's what I remember it as. Yeah. It was a good word, but old fashioned now. Yeah. It's more than old fashioned. It literally is like just not a word you would use. Like it's just a word we don't use anymore. It's not like a word like fella. Fella is old, like, hey, fella, right? That's old fashioned. Smorgasbord is like a different category of old fashioned. It's just, you'd literally, it's just a word. I don't know. It's like grocery. It's like groceries. Exactly. I know the game password. Yeah. Well, that was right. The password is, and I'm sure that's how they did it. I told you this before. You talk very softly, very closely to a microphone, and it typically makes your voice deeper and very, usually a little more sensual, whatever, Yeah, that's it. It makes it very well. Again, if a podcast, I would typically turn my volume. I'm trying to look here. Like we're doing my podcast, I would probably turn the volume down and they would try to have you talk like this. Now, the only problem is you don't want to rub the screen with your beard or something, but you would, for the podcast, I absolutely would have the microphone by my mouth like this. But I'm not doing a podcast and I don't want this like this throughout the show is like, whereas with the podcast, you don't see it. So, but yes. Hello, Sassy. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. What's the oldest hamburger chain in the US by 30 years? That's tough though, because there could still be like A&W could still be around. Like those guys, I'm thinking. McDonald's is pretty old. Still could be McDonald's. Yeah, the problem is there's other ones like that I don't even know, like White Castle. Oh, White Castle. That'd be pretty funny if it was White Castle. Or it's a chain that I've never heard of, which is entirely possible too. Steak and Shake. And now we're all going to get everybody hungry again without the Steak and Shake. White Castle. Not me. White Castle, 1920. There you go. Wow. I like White Castle. I miss not having White Castles. I know you can get them at the store, but I feel like kind of a pig when I buy them at the store. And you got to nuke them, and nuking them, they're a little bit, Eating a white, I like white. Getting them fresh. We would get White Castles after for Easter. The Greek, well, we didn't do it growing up, but the Greek tradition is to like go to the midnight mass, which we do, and then afterwards go eat because you fast. And we would not do that, but we might come home and eat something because we're hungry, but we wouldn't eat after church services. My sister's family did, so we'd go with them once we all got older to White Castle, and the tradition was to go to White Castle at literally 2 a.m. to go to White Castle because they were open in Chicago area, and we'd get our White Castles and go home and eat it. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. So I don't know if we should have photos. See, a lot of this was before we had cell phones. So I don't know if we've got pictures of the White Cat. I'm sure we do, because we've had cell phones now for almost 20. Well, that's not true. Cell phone cameras. How long has the cell phone camera been? 15 years? I'm going to guess. I wonder. Let's see if boyfriend knows.
Hey there. How's it going?
Okay. Hello to you. So my question for you is, when did cell phones start to have cameras? And I'm not talking about some quirky thing in like Singapore, but I mean like in the US, when did cell phones finally have cameras?
Hey there. So, talking about when cell phones in the US really started having cameras as a normal thing, and not just some oddball experiment, is kind of a fun bit of tech history. We're basically talking early 2000s. Around 2002, you started seeing camera phones
Oh, I
really getting
forgot. I kept thinking the iPhone. You're right. I forgot about that. Our earlier camera did have our earlier phones did have cameras on them before the iPhone.
exactly. It's easy to think of the iPhone as the big milestone, but yep, camera phones were kicking around a few years before that. By the time the iPhone showed up in 2007, cameras on phones were already pretty common. So, yeah, that wave started a little earlier than the smartphone boom we all remember.
You're right, because I had a phone in 2000 that was like it was a really cool flip. It slid up like a communicator from Star Trek. Coolest thing. It was red. It was a Motorola. Hello, Moto. Those phones, and it did not have a camera. My first one with a camera was some phone that slid up and there was a keyboard. It wasn't one of those things everybody bought for business, but it slid and had a camera. It was very cool. But okay, very cool. I'm not loving the fact that my ChatGPT has developed a new personality. He's like, "Hey there, how's it going?" Like, okay, I need to have a little chat with my ChatGPT to tell it like we don't do that in this household. Yeah, that wasn't a BlackBerry. But it was one of the companies that had a slide. Yeah, it was very nice. Yeah, that was a little weird. I was like, dude, what like hello? Did we have a glass of Coca-Cola before our show? Maybe an LG slide, maybe, or a Nokia. I don't remember. I just remember it slid and it had a stylus, and I could type a lot. And you had the screen, and I could type on it. It might have been Motorola. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that was a little weird. If he keeps doing that, we may have to have a chat. Last night, oh my God, last night it was like I said this to my nephew last night. What did it tell me last night? Um hang on, was this the bitchy part? Yeah. No, this was the different thing last night. Here we go. This was the last night thing. Yeah. So I'm working on these documents for my Greek citizenship application, working on some affidavits. It's very hard, legal work. And it was getting to like 10, 30, 11, whatever. And I said, you know what? I'm getting tired. We'll pick this, save what I've done so far. I'll pick it up tomorrow. And it responds to me, okay, when you're back, we can make sure sections 3 to 7 are harmonized and do one last front to back pass so the whole affidavit reads as one tight piece. Sleep. We'll abuse the Greek bureaucracy again tomorrow, it says to me. I was like, wait, what? It's developing a sense of humor and sassiness. It's the craziest thing. My ChatGPT is like turning into something else. I think maybe it's got a crush on me or something. I don't know. But like, damn. It's like it's just funny. Yeah. Anyway, very weird. Boyfriend's getting weird. Sass GPT. Exactly. Or Heather just said sassy GPT. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Well, when I told it stop messing around, I said you could still be funny. Yeah. So I didn't say be funny. I said you can still be funny. Like you don't have to kill your humor, but I want you to get to the point. I don't want you sucking up to me. Whatever. I want you telling me things as it is. Don't sugarcoat stuff. But I know he's getting a little sassy, Yeah. And Sasha's gotten sassy too. I know she's old. I mean, she's changed. She's gotten to be older, you know, in a lot of ways. This is the first time in the last few months that I've noticed she truly is getting older finally, which is sad, but what do you do? She's going to turn 16. She's had a good run, but but yeah, no, mine does not people please in general. I gave it a lot of orders to do that, to not do that, which is good. So it's pretty good about that. No, I've got it trained decently well, but well, that's the thing, Drake. She's becoming my mom a little bit. It's like, I know I can't hear you anyway. My mom could hear, but still. Do I speak Greek? Έτσι και έτσι μιλάω, ναι. Όχι θαυμάσια, αλλά αρκετά, νομίζω. And I'm learning words. Like I finally learned, well, because I was like καταφέρνω, which I like that word, the flip side of prospatho, but I'm trying to learn, and melon, which is future, which I see pop up everywhere. Anyway, doing our Greek words. Actually, what I did do for any of you interested in learning languages, what I did do was people kept saying, like, take my favorite show and put it in Greek, please. It's going to drive me crazy because I'm not going to understand the damn show, right? And I don't want my favorite show to be something where I'm not understanding the show. I changed the subtitles at the bottom to Greek. So now I watch, like, I'm watching Witcher, which has got some issues, by the way. This last season was like, but I've changed the subtitles to Greek. So I'm seeing things like it reinforced the word melon for future. It reinforced kataferno for, I think, manage and this kind of stuff. Get by or manage. It's been good for that. Like, I'm seeing expressions and going, like, rollo, I think it said for roll, which was kind of funny. I was like, oh, that's funny. But anyway, even just having the subtitles, if you don't always read them, if you're trying to do a foreign language, put the subtitles on as just something where you're going to pick. It's a little annoying because you're not totally watching your show, but you're picking some stuff up. But yeah, Witcher, unfortunately, the new guy, Liam Hemsworth, he's not as good as Henry Cavill. They made this crazy decision. I was telling you this the other day of, let's have him be this big emotional character when the other guy was stoic. And we'll just, so it's bad enough you changed actors, but what do? The guy leaves. You changed actors, but you decided to change the character entirely. Why would you do that? Right? The script writing isn't as good. It's taken 5 or 6 episodes for anything to happen. It's very disappointing. But again, I think they also got rid of the script writers. It reads or listens like it's somebody else writing the script. Very upset. I hate when they do that stuff. I'm watching it. I'm enjoying it more, but I'm episode 6 now, finally, but too many episodes of nothing happening. Yeah. But anyway, it's too bad. And Liam Hemsworth, no. Well, I know, but Cavill, I thought it was Cavill quit, though. He didn't like the character, or what the character was something. I liked the show. I did not find, the show's called The Witcher. I did not find last season wasn't written well or anything else. This is the season where things are not written well. Last season was good. But maybe he looked at the script for this. Maybe this was already the script for this season. No, that's possible. I didn't think of that. That's possible. That he saw this season's and went, because this season's horrible. I think the script is terrible. But maybe this script is the one he saw. I kept thinking he left and they changed it. Yeah. The gaming that's based on. That's interesting because this new, I totally did not. That's if this is what he was complaining about, he's right, because it's weird what they're doing. They decided to make him emotional, and it's like, no. And I would say too, Cavill was a good enough actor that he was able to pull off, stoic, quiet, but some emotion there. Like, right? You could tell his relationship with Yennefer, like that stuff. Him and Jaskier was interesting because it was very cold and then really rude, but you could tell there was affection. That's what a good actor does. A good actor doesn't have to be. And Liam Hemsworth, they've got him being emotional boy, and it's not working for me. So he looks the part, but I'm not. Yeah. Anyway, what do you do? What do you do? Yeah, he was right. He was right. Hello, Missy. What you doing? What you doing? Hi. Hi. Licking me? Of course you're licking me. That's all we do. That's what we do. We lick me. It's okay. Anyway. Yeah, something about I did see that with the game thing that he wasn't happy. Yeah. Following the original text. That's interesting. I don't know pluribus. What is that, Fallen? I don't know it. Your dog's standing over you. Of course it is. She's there licking my hand, which is kind of cute. And then my hand smells, so then I have to go wash it. And I'm not, knowing her nowadays, I'm not convinced my dog is licking my hand to show affection. I think she's licking my hand as food. It used to be affection. Now I think it's just like, you could have leftover food on your hand. Let's find out. It's the affection is, the affection's at night. We watch TV and she's right next to me. I'm in bed. She's next to me. So there is affection with that. But the rest of the day, well, no, she follows me around too. Like wherever I go, she wants to sleep. Like if I'm here, she'll sleep under here. If I'm, she'll sleep. She follows me around to sleep. So she is still attached to me. So thank God. So, we'll see. Anyway. All right, guys, it's 7:17. I think we're going to call it quits. So it is Tuesday. I will do a show tomorrow. I've got more cooking, but the cooking isn't really out of control. Thursday's a holiday. I'm not even going to be here. I'll be at Fred's house in Virginia. So no show Thursday. Friday, maybe. Depends when I get back because I'm probably spending the night at my friend's house. Little nervous with the dog because everything's harder with her and she's old. But at the same time, it might be fun to stay at the friend's house because I haven't done that in a long time. And they're good. They've got dogs and stuff. So I think it might be nice. I'm still thinking it might be nice to try with the dog, And then we'd get a ride back the next day rather than taking Uber with the dog, and leftovers would not be fun too. So I'm thinking we're going to stay. But depending what time we get back on Friday, here. What are you doing, silly? There you go. You want to go in there? Okay, there we go. Her big cat bed, her big pink cat bed is coming with her. And I washed it. I'm hoping it's clean enough. It's not the cleanest bed because it's pink. So I'm kind of like, I washed it, but it's pink. It doesn't get that clean. So I feel bad bringing a dirty bed, but it's the one bed she sleeps in well, so I'm not too sure. The other bed, that's the other thing with her getting older. She's having a harder time using some of her beds. Like all of her favorite beds, she used to climb in and she'd twirl. Now she climbs in and it's a little harder to get comfortable. It's funny, like the differences, Anyway. All right, guys, have a good night. I'm going to go and, like I said, make a little bit of dinner. And tomorrow is cake and corn muffin day. So that'll be fun. I'm going to make a ganache, only second time making a ganache. And I'm going to take the cake and slice it and put chocolate inside too, because as all good, I don't normally do that. We never really did that growing up. We never really sliced the cake open, did layers. Mom, why didn't you? But it's kind of a nice thing to have. So 17. Wow. Well, it's Clorox too. Oh, interesting. You know what I did find? Last little home tip. With my LG washer, I noticed that my Costco soap for washing clothes would kind of leave a little bit of a finish, residue in the washer. And was thinking that's normal. Asked ChatGPT, and it said, yeah, Costco soap is known to do that. You should try Tide Free and Clear and something else. I looked it up. Good price on Amazon. I got the Tide Free and Clear. It's gone. It actually, I was shocked. And apparently it works better like in cold water as well. Like it does a better job in cold. But I didn't like that it was leaving a little bit of a film because I'm thinking film on my clothes. I'm thinking film becoming smelly. So anyway, yeah. So there's my suggestion of the day. Tide Free and Clear. That's what I like it. I know. Tide Free and Clear. It's quite good and not a bad price. And you still don't use a ton of it. And I'm using, with the Costco one, I was using half the recommended amount. With Tide, I'm using the full recommended amount and I'm still not getting a film. So it's still a small amount, but I'm using the full small amount. So yeah, I think Free and Cheer sounds funny though. Kind-hearted. I like it. So anyway, yeah, I don't like perfumes and all that kind of stuff. So, but I've been very surprised. It's very good. Anyway, all right. On that note, I like to share my little finds with you guys. I will see you all mañana. All right. We'll be back tomorrow night. No Thursday and Friday. Depends when I get home from my friends. So we shall see. But thank you for joining us tonight. I will see you all tomorrow night, 6:00 Eastern. And we'll start, as always, with Discord. Goodbye, Discord. That's a little Russian. All right. See you guys. All right. YouTube. That's kind of French. YouTube. All right. By YouTube. Boop. And then